Welcome to Clyde Samvada, brought to you by the Hindu Temple of Scotland. Namaskarams to all. We have Pradeep ji with us. Pradeep ji, in addition to his regular day job, has been, as a hobby, extremely interested in creating games. Not just any game, but games with Indic content. So it is Indic heritage content like yoga, the sutras, all of that. So we thought we will have Pradeep ji in today's episode of Like Samvada talking to us about how he went about creating some of these games and what could somebody who is, let's say, interested in creating games, how should they go about creating such games? So that's what will be the focus of today's Like Samvada. Welcome to the show, Pradeep ji.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for this opportunity to come on Clyde Samvada. I mean, I'm really grateful that you gave me a platform to talk about some of my hobbies. Thanks a lot.
Welcome to the show, and maybe you can start by talking to us a bit about how you got interested in creating these games.
Sure. So one of my best friends, Suraj, who goes by the code name Whistler, is very keen on building games as a way of communicating his ideas as software apps for Android. So in 2018, when I was still doing my PhD, at that time he got in touch with me and asked me, do you have any interesting idea to develop as a game and launch as an Android app? So I started exploring games as an option, as a hobby. And then I realized that there are a lot of games which are specifically where people can play in terms of shooting, exploring, and these are time-killing games.
Yes, yeah.
But they are not really teaching you much. So then I realized that taking cue from Duolingo, I thought if we gamify something useful, then in addition to enjoying the game, we learn from it. Over time, I realized that if we can gamify some interesting aspect of our culture, then it makes it very interesting and appealing to the narrow attention span of the younger generation who are very distracted by the apps like Instagram and all these YouTube
media.
shorts. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. So, what sort of games have you developed? And maybe you can kind of talk to us a bit about the example games that you have created, and also maybe talk about how you got the content for creating those games.
Sure. So I have more than 15 games so far that I have launched.
15 games. Okay, that's quite a lot of games. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll group them by themes rather than go chronologically.
Okay.
So the first theme I would want to touch about is yoga, which has a very universal appeal, not just to people of Hindu community, Hindu faith, but everybody.
Yes.
So yoga, I have gamified yoga in 4 different ways.
Okay.
The first one I thought when I collaborated with an yoga teacher from India, who's my school friend, he gave me the images of the different asanas of yoga, and I thought, how do I gamify this? And then I came up with yoga jigsaw puzzle, where I crop up the images into different tiles, 12 tiles, and then they have to put that into the right order to solve the puzzle. And then they see the benefit of doing that particular asana. That was the first one. Then yoga grids, word search, where there is a grid of letters and you have to search for the English name of the object that the yoga asana represents.
Okay.
Like bakasana, baka means crane, so you have to search for crane in that grid of letters.
Okay.
That was
So it's like trying to link the name of the asana to what the animal is, object is.
that it represents. That was the second one. The third one is yoga hangman, where they have to guess a phrase describing the main benefit of doing an asana in the form of an hangman game.
Okay.
Then the third one is this popular Wordle game. I adapted that to yoga, where I give an image of an asana and you have to guess the name of the asana in a Wordle style.
Okay, interesting. So that's all yoga themed games. So what are the other themes?
The second theme I would want to touch about is scriptures. Okay. The first game in this category was I gamified Bhagavad Gita, where each of the English transliterated version of the Sanskrit shlokas are presented, and you have to type exactly as given on the screen. Then once you complete that challenge, you get to see the meaning of that particular shloka. So that was Bhagavad Gita typing game. The second one was Tirukural memory game. In that, I show the kural in the right order. Each kural is at most 7 words. So I jumble up these words and present it to you as a challenge. From your memory, you have to put it in the right
Chronological
order.
order, okay.
Yeah. That way, once you solve it, you see the meaning of the kural. Then the third one is Patanjali Yoga Sutra game, where the shlokas from Patanjali Yoga Sutra are given, and you have to guess the meaning of that shloka by looking at the meaning of the individual words.
Okay.
That way, you get to understand the meaning and also kind of play a game.
Okay. Interesting.
So these are the scripture-based ones.
Okay.
Then I have few games on Hindu theology. The first game I have worked on was the Namavali game, where it is inspired from New York Times' connections game pattern, where I have a grid of 9 words. You have to group these 9 words into 3 words of 3 groups each.
Okay.
All are names of 3 different gods, and the names are chosen from the Ashtottara Shatanamavali of each of those gods.
Okay.
So that one, if you solve this kind of a puzzle, then you have to relate to the background and the theological information of each of the gods to be able to understand which name goes to which god.
Okay.
So that was the second theology-based game, and
And when you have these sort of different types of games, how do you get the content for it? I mean, like, where do you source the Namavalis from, or how do you get the yoga pose information, all of that?
So as far as the yoga was concerned, I had this expert, Mr. Vinay Siddhya, who was a yoga teacher for his school friend, and he was giving me the images and the information.
Okay.
For the theology-based one, I took the information from Drik Panchang website, which has a comprehensive information about Sahasranama, Shatanamavali, and all the different gods and the theological information that one would be interested to understand these things.
Okay.
So I sourced them from that.
Okay.
Also made a game on Hanuman Chalisa, where you have to complete the words from the Hanuman Chalisa using the rhyming words for each of the chopai that presented.
Okay. Interesting.
The next category theme of games that I did was on Sanskrit.
Okay.
So here I made a game on Panini's Shiva Sutra. So the Panini Shiva Sutra has these 14 aphorisms of grouping all the alphabets into different compound words in such a way that you can remember them for their grammatical relevance to it. So that was the first, and this is a sliding game where these tiles are presented in the form of a grid of 15 tiles, and you have to slide them into the right order.
Okay, interesting. So like this, the whole concept of gamification is really interesting, right? It's more engaging for anyone who is wanting to engage with it. So and gamification of the Indic content there's not a lot of that linkage. So it's really interesting that what you have done in that space. So quite interesting. And the content part is one. How do you, if somebody wants to just, let's say, get started with creating games, what sort of things should they be aware of, and how should they go about doing it?
Yeah, when you have to gamify something related to Indic content, then you have to take a two-pronged approach. One is what do you want to gamify, whether it is a scripture, whether it is yoga, anything, any particular topic you want to gamify. How do you want to gamify? There are two aspects. For instance, if you take Bhagavad Gita, then you have what is the goal? The goal is to make the player, in addition to play and enjoy it, learn from it. So if you take that approach, then what you realize is that if you are presented with a shloka, then you gamify in such a way that they try and understand the meaning of it. And the approach that I took was, make it into a typing game. That way, they feel like they are the challenge that they are looking at is how to type it in the right order with making least number of mistakes in the minimum time. But at the end of it, they learn what is the meaning of it. So for a person to who is interested in gamifying, the basic things that they need to learn is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Of course, also these web technologies, how to how to integrate them and launch a web app, a progressive web app, so that people all these days are playing everything on the mobile phone.
Yes.
So that is the other aspect of it.
Okay. And so how do you, like, if somebody has to just, let's say, start thinking about it from a first principles perspective, let's say a secondary school student in one of the schools in Scotland. So one is knowing these languages, which is more of a technical side of it, like JavaScript, CSS, whatever. The other is the content, which is, let's say, Drik Panchang or getting Yoga Sutra information, all of that. I think there's also a middle piece, which is how do you think about gamification, right? So how have you gone about doing that? I mean, like what you said about the Bhagavad Gita typing game is interesting, but like how should somebody who is just starting to do this, how would they start thinking about how to gamify? So any thoughts on that?
Yes, sir. So after the Bhagavad Gita game, my friend said, you have done Bhagavad Gita, why not Thirukural?
Okay.
Then I explored Thirukural and I realized that each Kural is at most 7 words.
Okay.
Then it lends itself to something like a memory game where I can jumble up the words. So you explore one topic, try and understand. In addition to thinking about what you have to game, whether it is suitable for that particular topic. So for that you need to explore that particular Indic topic. So in this regard, not just programming aspect of it, as you rightly pointed out, you should learn what you are trying to gamify.
Yeah.
That is whether the player learns or not. In gamifying it, I have learned many things from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I have a topic that I want to gamify, and then I explore that topic and realize which game idea will be suitable for it, and then explore how to gamify it.
Okay, interesting. Okay, any other closing thoughts in terms of how should somebody get about doing gamification?
I would like to collaborate with anybody who's interested in developing indie games. You could get in touch with me on my website www.iseek.page.com. I'm looking for collaborators, whether it is IT experts or Indic subject knowledge experts. So I invite you to my website and to discover more about all the games that I have developed so far.
So absolutely, we'll put the description of the link on the description of the video as well. So people can engage with it as well. Super. Thank you so much for sharing insights about the Indic game development process, Pradeep ji.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for this opportunity to share about my work. Thank you.
Namaskar.